Hello guys, I hope you're doing good and alright. Today is the first day of something I'm very excited about. Because before, a couple of days ago, we finished on our Confident Dyslexic program about the 5 different parts to become a confident dyslexic. But now I spent a couple of days really planning out, really looking at and how we can do this, not about confident dyslexic, but for reading. About learning how to read for a dyslexic from a dyslexic. So I think this is 10 different parts. It's going to be quite in-depth, quite long, going into all the different other aspects of reading. And why am I doing this? There's a couple reasons. First reason is why I'm doing this is because I feel that we want to answer the questions of dyslexia, and one of the things that I really want to set out doing is coming out here and really trying to solve all the problems we have with dyslexia. And reading is one of the biggest ones. That's the ones that people notice more. That's the people who don't really understand dyslexia think of first, is their reading. And so much more. And over the years, one, living with dyslexia at a severe rate, but also learning how the brain works, learning how dyslexia affects the brain, how the brain's differently in us dyslexics, and actually having my own transformation with my reading that's truly unbelievable. And I'm sure I'm going to talk about it in these episodes here coming. But by the way, guys, I am at work doing this, and I thought it was a great time to do this, and there's a little waterfall behind me, so if there's a bit of background music, I apologize. Try to make it the best I can for you all. So guys, this is I did my little intro to reading, so we're going to cover loads about reading, guys. So who would this benefit? So sorry, the reasons why I'm doing this one, because massive question to ask, and I feel it'll be really valuable answering it. And another reason why I'm doing it, because I remember before my last podcast I was doing about what I'm working on at the moment, and something I'm working on at the moment is really building the funnel for this universal reading method, the reading method that transformed me more than anything. And I really want to explain that and how that fits into learning to read. And how does it work? Why does it work? And get into that, and what I truly believe is the answer, and what I really want to test if it is the answer or not. So guys, that's another strong reason why I'm doing this, and also to create some amazing bit of content, because I want to put these into like a little playlist. You know what I mean? These 5 dyslexic become a confident dyslexic for this learning how to read by a dyslexic, learning how to read for dyslexics by dyslexic is another thing. It's a good little bit of content and good people who add value for people to walk through like one part at a time. And also guys, I do want to say as well, if you're interested about like how I improved my reading, what I'm doing now for the next, I think, 10 days or maybe 2 weeks is setting up this call system where anyone can call me for about half an hour. It's half an hour like call, and basically just talk through the challenges you're having, or the challenges maybe your children are having with English, and how I can help them, or how this method that transformed me could help them, or it could help them, and in what ways, and just have a conversation to have something that they would want. Anyway, so that's also what I'm doing as well. If you're interested, I'm sure I'm going to leave a link in the notes or something. If not, email me, message me, do whatever. Leave a comment, then that'll get back to you. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy today's episode, and today is all about why it's so hard for us dyslexics to learn to read English. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conqeuing Dyslexia podcast. So guys, it's part 1 of learning how to read for dyslexics by a dyslexic, okay? So today it's about why is it so hard for us dyslexics to learn how to read. And I really want to start from the ground roots basics. So bits of this will be about bits of this will be about, okay, how does the brain work, how people are when they're dyslexic, and all these different avenues and ways. But I really want to start off by taking a step back and looking from it for a bit more of a history perspective. Because I remember learning this and I thought this was incredible. Because before I say what I learned when it comes to reading and what is actually reading when you think about it, but I remember struggling loads, like thinking, why can't I do that? Why can't I learn that? Like, especially in school, with my member in the class, the teacher would go to the board and draw a shape. And they say, this shape is a C, this shape is an A, this shape is a T. This shape makes it sound K. This shape makes it sound A. And this shape makes it sound T. And together they make a word called cat. And a cat is an animal. And I knew what a cat was, but I didn't know that these three shapes make these three sounds that make this word, that means this physical object. And I didn't think of it in terms of that language at the time, but it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I remember thinking, this is so hard to understand. And I remember looking around thinking, wow, everyone else can do it, but I find it hard. I'm finding it hard to learn those things. And at the beginning, I thought that other people were smart. And then I began to realize something. I began to realize that these people aren't smart. I must be dumb because they're all doing it and I'm the only one not doing it. And the struggles with reading has happened ever since. You mean with reading, not being able to read, not being able to make sounds. I remember after I found out I really struggled with reading. I remember one time my mum paid my brother to help read like a £2. Like my mum would give my brother £2 and me £1. He would finish one of these Biff and shit books. And then I'd read it over and over again. The little system we came up with to get more money is to read the same book over and over and over again. Because if I read the same book, I can memorize what they're saying, and I'd memorize exactly what words they say, when and where. So then we just got a lot of money. The mum found out, and she paid £30 in a day. That was quite funny, but I've struggled with reading all the time. And to the point where it's some days, and I know if you're dyslexic, you have good days and bad days. Good days we can read really good, and bad days when you can't read as good. It can be very frustrating on the bad days, and we often get confused. Well, why is this a bad day? Why is it happening? It just happens. You can't really explain it. I find it hard to read. It doesn't make sense anymore. And one thing it's really hard for because I don't know what it's like to be a non-dyslexic, to have a neurotypical brain and to learn and to read like everyone else, and they don't know what it's like for me to read because I feel normal. It's hard for me. I don't feel dumb, I feel normal, but it just kind of seems like everyone else feels so smart. And something that I remember reading in the book, I forget which book, I believe it was Overcoming Dyslexia, big book. They talk a lot about reading there. And something that I just really kind of blew me away if you think about it. Because I always thought reading is the most complex thing in the world. If you think about it, okay, they make a symbol up. Say this symbol means this sound. And these two symbols together would make this other sound, different phonemes in English. And this sound would string together to make this word. And this sound string together and make this word. And having all of these different rules layered on top of each other. And then the rules don't always make sense. Then there's always an exception to the rule. And you try to learn all these different phonics and then it would just never work. And I remember going through school, it was the teacher would say something, I'd be okay, you said it a million times, I understand it now, and practiced it loads of times. And then me thinking in my head, I know it. And weeks later, I would do the same rule, I know this is definitely right, and being very confident and knowing why. Then the teacher goes, no, you spelled it wrong. I go, what? No, I used the rule, I used this, I tried this, I've done the right thing. And they go, no, you did it wrong, Theo, you have to do it again. And that was so frustrating to me, and I believe so many of us dyslexics has gone through the same thing where we think something's right and it's not. And I remember getting to the point where it's just I don't trust myself anymore, because all the times when I trust myself and it does turn out to be wrong, it's I don't trust myself with this anymore. And that is the thing, honestly, now I'm still dealing with the trust of it. But the big thing I'm learning, so I'm getting to this, the big thing what I've learned in reading the book Overcoming Dyslexia, it makes so much sense that language, human beings are born with an innate ability to understand language, to understand text. No, not understand language, understand, you mean verbal communication, okay? Because no one really taught me to speak English. I didn't go to speak, well, I did actually for pronunciation, but I still understood words. I just couldn't pronounce them. I still could listen and said the meaning of the words they said. No one taught me to do it because there's a natural part of our brain that's wired and designed to help us with understanding language and to speak. But reading is a skill. Language is more innate. You know what I mean? Speaking and listening is more innate. Reading and writing is a skill. 100% a skill. That you have to do it through repetition of learning over and over and over again. Learning it, and us dyslexics just find it hard to learn this skill. It's like the same skill as learning maths, same skill as riding a bike. I know it requires different elements of your body and of your brain, but it's a skill. You can get better and better and better at it, as well as you can get worse and worse and worse. And some people have a gift at skill, like art. Some people are incredibly good at art, singing. Some people are incredibly good at singing. Some people are just rubbish at it. But the rubbish people can get better with the right practice, but the rubbish people won't be nearly as good as the people who are gifted at it, if they put the equal amount of work in. But if the rubbish person puts so much work in, they can sometimes get better than the gifted person, because the gifted person never put work in. And the same goes for dyslexia, but just very, very not gifted and untalented in the skill of reading, and lots of other skills, as it turns out. But if you just take a step back and think of things not from everyone should learn to read, and yes, of course everyone should learn to read, but if you think about how complex it is, because it takes 5 times more energy for us dyslexics with a dyslexic brain to break down the phonemes of the word so we understand them. By the way, a phoneme, guys, I'll explain this in different parts, but a phoneme is just a singular sound, singular part of a word, singular sound, like it's a single chunk. And the phonemes is like 44, 46 phonemes. In English alphabet, they say, I still believe I found more, but like a chunk, like a couple letters together, they make a different sound. That's called phonemes. And we take a lot more energy learning that and distinguishing that. And one thing that can help find out if your kid's dyslexic is if they've struggled with their phonemes. Because oftentimes we struggle understanding the phonemes, breaking it down, separating it. And we'll definitely get into later about all the different reasons behind that. And guys, so this is going to be a good 10-part episode. We talk a lot about reading, a lot about the brain, and a lot about things that people do, all the different approaches out there. There's the Autumn Gillingham, the Davis method, and all the others reading programs out there that a lot of them I've tried, and the benefits of them, and the reasons why they do what they do, and all of that. But if you think of it, so with this first episode, so we're going to dive into this, learning how to read. And by the way, guys, full disclosure, this method that I'm kind of hinting to, this universal reading method, when I did it, my life was never the same. You know what I mean? My reading score went through the roof. Like, I could only read for 20 minutes at a time, then my head would be too fatigued to learn anything more, to moving to reading easily an hour effortlessly, reading 5 times more than I ever could before, and retaining everything. It sounds too good to be true, I know, but I'm telling you it is, and go through this whole next series, go in a lot more detail to why that is, and the kind of areas of the brain that it hits that I feel other programs don't hit. Anyway, so I want to understand in this part, moving forward, what are we going to talk about? And the biggest thing from this episode is about why dyslexics find it hard to read. It's because reading is basically, the basics is reading is a skill that we're not born with, not born innate with. We just find it a lot harder for us to break down typically the phonemes of the word, to put them together, put them together, and for them to make sense of the phonemes. And there's a lot more complexity to this that we'll get into, but the very basic bones, that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that, you're just not good at this skill. And the different ways of you to learn then a neurotypical person, because most of education, all of education, really designed by neurotypical people, and then the special part of education has to be designed by neurodiverse people so that they can learn in a way that they're designed. So anyway, guys, that's what we have to look forward to. Now, please think of it like taking this advice of with reading, and reading is a skill. You know what I mean? Reading is a skill. It's not like talking. And reading takes effort. It takes time. And you like the stages of reading. There's reading when you read the letters and the phonemes of the word, then combining the word, then just look at the page, you just look at the words and you know the words, and then you just look at a couple words and kind of know what it is. And in a sense, it's like, if you look at what to get into this, there's so much I can talk about, so much I want to talk about. But when you get this in detail, when you look at the brain of a neurotypical person reading and a dyslexic person reading, completely different brains, different brain wiring, different brain activity, and that's why we find it hard to read, and that's why it takes more energy. And we'll get into that, guys. So today, it's a lot about the future. Today is all about understanding that finding it hard to read is completely fine, it's completely normal. You're not meant to be able to read perfectly. It's not natural to always read really good. It's a skill. We develop. Some of us good at it, some of us aren't as good at it. And the reason why we find it hard to break down the phonemes, the basic part of the word. And reading is incredibly complex. You have to look at the shape, understand what two shapes mean together, and then the two shapes would create a sound, and all the sounds together would create a word. All these words have meaning behind it, and then all the meanings come together to create a sentence, the sentence, the story, bloody. So this is the end, guys, of part 1. We see you for part 2. Part 2 is more about the mind. Guys, hope you enjoy it. Take care. See you all again soon. And if this sounds interesting to you, please I schedule a 30-minute call to talk to me, and about just talk to me any questions you have, and about this method moving forward that transformed my life when all these other learning programs didn't. Anyway, enjoy that. Take care. Farewell and bye.